So as the impending time that it becomes that I become a dad, I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about being a father and what being a father means, and kind of the things that I learned from my father. And I started thinking about the things that really taught me who I was. And I think that one reason is that, one, that's why I didn't change this shirt, and two, I want to talk about television. Now, television has played a big role, I think, in all of our lives. I think that's pretty easy to say. I'll move the microphone. There we go. I think that's pretty easy to say. I think we can all agree on that. But one thing that I feel for sure is that the cartoons that are happening now aren't conveying the same way that the cartoons that we grew up with. And I think that's a generational thing, but as I think of what I want to do and what I want to show my son, in the case of cartoons, oh my god, there's a bee. In the case of cartoons, I've been really thinking hard about what they'll be learning now consistent to what I learned then. I was watching a video by 24 Frames of Nick, and it was the Ed and Eddie video on how to end a cartoon, and obviously it was a nostalgic ride. You know, think about this. Here's like a thought experiment of this. Take the 3 to 4 best cartoons that you want to show everybody, not just your kids, everybody. You know, and we're gonna not include anime in this one, but just cartoons. I would have to say for myself, Rugrats, Courage Cowardly Dog, Kids Next Door, and then to top them all off would probably be Ed and Eddie. And here's why. Those 4 cartoons really shaped the way I think about the world that surrounds me, and they all have different, very distinct things that I want to show everybody. So let's start with Rugrats. Okay, Rugrats has this beautiful way of trying to explain why babies do anything. So they go and, you know, babies just disappear, and you're like, man, I just set them down right here, and now they've disappeared. And it kind of shows how oblivious parents can be sometimes, but in the viewpoint of an infant, you know, or a newborn, or, you know, or toddlers, you know, things like that. But it shows you the enormous the enormous imagination that we assume that infants and babies have. To my knowledge, there's things and there's philosophy saying that we are taught out of our imagination to fall in line with society. While that's good and bad at the same time, it's not really wrong, you know, but I think this really reimposes the idea or the fact that imagination isn't taught. We're kind of taught out of. But the enormous amount of imagination that we have as children is so vast, and that's why you can have all these. Oh my god, the bee is back. Just gonna chill out. Okay, it flew away. The enormous amount of imagination that we have, but we don't use the older and older we get. But let's move on. So I want to, in the same line of imagination, let's kind of go to its opposite. Fear, anxiety. You know, things that as kids we don't really understand, but now as an adult, even through the fun years of teenage-ship, it's something that you're all too common with. And I think the best show that I think encompasses that is Courage the Cowardly Dog. Now, Courage the Cowardly Dog is a great show. It's amazing. The animation, the style, all of it, and the context of it is that it's through the eyes of a dog, you know? All these scary things, oh my goodness, all these scary things may not be scary things. In the perspective of, you know, Eustace and Muriel, I guess that would be the human perspective. But again, to them it may not be scary, but to Courage, everything is scary. And the greatest episode, I would say, or one of them, would be the one where he is trying to be perfect. So, in this episode, Courage is trying to be perfect, and he ends up creating this lady, or this lady comes to the house to show him how to be perfect. And After trying and trying and trying again to be perfect according to this woman's standards, it doesn't work out, and then he has a stress stream from not being able to sleep for essentially, I think it's about 3 days. With that in mind, he ends up having a stress stream about this crazy blue anthropomorphic blob with a... It's this thing. This thing right here. Now, as a child, that is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But it shows how much anxiety can really alter your mental state. And as a kid, you don't get that. You know, I don't think you're supposed to, but I do think it does represent the ability that your mind has to... Oh my god, this bee is back. It does, I think it does, if I can remember my thought, show you how crazy the mind can go in trying to appease those that you love and those that are around you. So I think that's very interesting. And that show is almost consistently about trying to overcome one's fears for those who you love. Let's move on to Kids Next Door. Now that we're going back to the imagination part of this, essentially. Now, it's not directly stated in the show or the show's canon in any real way that all these kids are just playing make-believe, but I think that can be pretty easily assumed because they have the 2x4 technology. And a point on that is when I was, I think 10, when I was first watching this, they had a laser gun, and I think I think it should be right here. There's got to be a bee's nest around here somewhere because they are flying all over the place. Okay, so they had this laser gun, and it was out of 2x4s, a can, definitely a Coke bottle, and a flashlight. And I thought that was the coolest thing that I've ever seen, you know. And I even, at one point, I convinced my dad to go to Giant Eagle, get a a small pack of the actual glass Coca-Cola bottles. I rubbed off the Coca-Cola and I put it on a 2x4 and I wrenched everything down. I turned the light on, and I honestly thought that I might get a cool, like really cool laser light type thing. I didn't expect an actual laser, obviously, but I thought maybe I would have like a really cool light, and maybe that wasn't the point, but the idea of it was I had this really cool laser thing, and it didn't really turn out to be that, but I still thought it was really cool anyway because I made something from a show that I really liked with obviously the help of my father. Oh my gosh, they keep flying next to me, man. They're crazy. Ugh. So I thought that was really, really cool. And if anything, I would say that show kind of convinced you as a kid who's under the age of 13 that you can do anything with a little creativity and some ingenuity. You can really create anything that you really want. And I think by making that, although a poor version of it, by making that, it really reinforced the fact